So you can please introduce yourself to the viewers.
Hi, my name is Shawana Vaughn. I am a 38-year-old parent and entrepreneur.
Okay. And what brings you here today?
To share my story of an employment position that went wrong for a company that was not, that cared more about profit than their employees.
Okay. And this was the New York City mission you're referring to that was
Yes,
basically received a grant from the mayor De Blasio to curb and stop gun violence and gang violence.
absolutely.
Okay. And how long were you a part of this group?
Um, I started working for them in October of 2014
Okay.
until March of 2015.
Okay. And describe your experience there and what eventually led to the situation you're in now.
Um, Initially, the experience was um, a good one
Okay.
until it wasn't. Um, so, are you familiar with the Cure Violence program? That it started from out of Chicago,
Hmm.
and it's
This was like
basically,
the motto and the framework that
yeah,
you're okay. Okay.
yes. The model came out of Chicago,
Hmm.
and it's based on that that violence is basically a health issue. It's a disease.
Okay.
And so, like anything that's a disease, you try to treat it.
Hmm.
And so, the model that they came up with is getting people who have been incarcerated or been in the streets or in some type of lifestyle that is reformed
Hmm.
to come in and work with the community. And as you know from reading, and I found out everybody wasn't reformed. But for the most part, all my coworkers were good, except for a few.
Now
And the few made it
let
bad
me
for
let me
everybody.
let me ask you this. You said this came out of a motto out of Chicago,
Yes,
but
ceasefire.
yeah, is that successful in Chicago? Because Chicago, they're still having, you know what I mean, their issues. So was that the first mistake? We're gonna break it down. What do you think?
But you know what? In certain areas in
Okay,
Chicago, I'm sure it's great.
okay,
Actually, I know some people that trained us actually from Chicago,
okay.
and I think they did a darn good job.
Yeah, it's not.
Um,
And I want to say I'm
you
not
know,
undermining anyone's efforts
of
in
course,
Chicago. I'm just
of
looking at it
course.
objectively. Okay, okay.
Yeah, Chicago is big and widespread, and yeah, we all know it's Chirac, but I
Hmm.
think for the section that they dealt with,
Hmm.
crime went down.
Okay,
Um, and as of late, their money, their resources, their funding has shifted, and so when you no longer have workers
hmm,
and you no longer have money to fuel a program, then things happen. But you can't heal all of it. But I think that for them, they did the best they could with what they had, and they
hmm.
made impact. They
Okay,
made change. As far as New York, I believe that when like Harlem was one of the first places to get um, a cure violence,
okay,
and it's called Snug here, which is gun spelled backwards.
okay,
And I believe they started in 2010 originally, and when they started, it was good. It even caught my eye on the street. They did
okay.
a casket situation in the street, and it caught my attention
What do you mean a
years before.
casket?
A mock funeral in the
Okay,
street
okay,
in the
okay,
winter, no
okay,
less.
okay.
And people actually were standing and waiting and standing around, and that caught my attention, and I didn't know what it was. But after that, I got curious. I'm like, let me figure out what this is because I liked what they were doing. And at that time, I have my own organization called Silent Cry. So I was like, let me see what they're doing, what this is. And I was intrigued. And as time went on, I watched them and they were good. They were impacting and affecting, and they were effective, and they were being seen all over the community. They were in the hospital and they were on the street. And with the people that were at that time who were running the program, obviously they were effective. And the program was good. I won't tell you it was bad from day one. Things progressively get bad, as in everything.
So what is
But
their is their tactic basically to draw attention, like kind of use shock value sometimes, or just to show the consequences of gun violence? Is that
yes,
part of
yes.
okay.
Like the casket marches and the casket walks, and then actually going out to schools to raise awareness.
Okay.
It's about getting people to understand that violence is an issue in our minority communities.
Okay.
Going to churches, going to schools, mediating street beefs with people in safe areas,
Okay.
um, trying to facilitate peace, basically. And they did a good job of it. I mean, I was a hospital responder when I came, and a violence interrupter. So a hospital responder responds in a hospital to gunshot stabbings and assaults at all times of the night, 24 hours. Somebody's assigned to the hospital. You have days and shifts, and you go. And you give them your cards. You tell them you don't work with the police. We're not a police, you know, coexisting agency. And you try to ask them what they need. You try to figure out, how they can not go retaliate. How you can try to mediate a situation or negotiate a bargain so people can stay alive. Because when somebody's shot or stabbed, that's when they're most vulnerable. So you try to get them there. And you try to see what services they need, jobs, food, family, housing, whatever that is to keep them alive. And so, or to get out of a gang, or to, whatever the need is. So that's the role of a hospital responder. And a violent interrupter, like I told you, goes to the school, goes to the churches, negotiates with kids out on the street, or men, or whatever the case may be. Um, all the top gang members, and you try to get them to not unrecruit, but basically unrecruit. Um,
Now, what were
and
tactics that you would? What are some of the tactics that you would use, or the company, the group would use? Like how do you even go about that? Do you provide them with employment, job opportunities? I mean, how does that even work?
So, like I explained, you get formally incarcerated, or formally people who are in the streets, or formally somebodies,
Mm-hmm.
and the model is you use them as credible messengers. So, because if you were, and I'm like the outcast, because most of the people that are in there are from New York, or from Harlem, or from the boundary in which they worked, except for me. I'm from
Okay.
California, way out of the boundary.
Okay.
Um, but I've been here 9 years. But the
Okay.
people that they use are from here, are like from St. Nicholas projects, or from in the radius, or in the 25 block radius that they serve.
Okay.
So they grew up here. They know the people. They know the players. They know, ex gang leaders. So they know who to talk to, and they have respect. Even though they're not in their life, people still respect them. So they can still move and talk to them in a way that a regular person could not.
Okay.
Um,
Talk their language, basically.
it speak
Okay.
their language
Okay.
exactly. Um, and so that works. That actually, will make peace. Because if you got an ex blood who was at the top, who now is doing right, he can go negotiate. He speaks a language that the police don't speak, or the social worker doesn't speak, or we don't. Everybody doesn't speak that language, and so. Um,
Where did things kind of turn wrong?
Things turned wrong when a coworker even turned my supervisor into a gang member. When you have people in your employment who are having your office look like it's their clubhouse for a gang. When I think that, one of my coworkers who has passed away now had once mentioned, he said, I feel like I'm a blood and I'm in a gang, because that's what our office looked like at one point. And when you have people you realize that are not reformed in any fashion, and they're still active recruiting and at the top, That's a scary process because
So
now cure violence, the model is turned into something ugly because you work there. And the rest of us are really trying to save people. Honestly, the rest of us are doing our job. You have people out here who have been arrested because of the job, trying to save people. And so you have people who spend their money out their pocket buying coats, food, you know, lost jobs. People have lost life going to this job. And so, they believe in it. They've lost things. And look at all the man hours you're out of your house because if somebody's shot or stabbed at 2 and 3 in the morning, you don't know how long you're going to be at the hospital. People have families and kids, and people get tired on the other side of that coin waiting for the people to come back. And that takes a wear and tear on people's families. And so when you go and you give your all to something, and for me, I feel like as an ex-felon and a single parent and a mother of two, I owe, I owe. I owe it, and you got to give it back. And most of the people who work with me felt like me. We're ex-convicts. We owe it, and you got to give it back. You spend a lot of time destroying, a lot of time neglecting, and you're trying to give it back. You're trying to make kids better than you were. And so when you have a coworker who is actively recruiting people to be in a gang that are employees, that
now
are kids
let
on the
me.
street.
Did this happen gradually, or did you just see it out of nowhere? Did you see like a sign, or was it like it just happened out of nowhere and you looked up and?
Well, I came in on on the shift of power, so to speak. I came in when I was hired where management was being turned upside down, and new management came, and they came from a museum to a community center. You already know. And so their mindset wasn't one of community. And so when you have leadership in a position that they shouldn't be in, how strong can your team be if your leader is weak or doesn't know? And then when you have people that are supposed to do oversight and come and, you have the health department and the city with a $13 million budget, as you read, why is nobody coming? It didn't get bad when I showed up. I just told. It was bad before I got there.
Mm-hmm.
It couldn't have just got
So this
bad
had
when I
already
walked.
been going on before you got
It
there. You think? Okay.
absolutely,
Okay.
but probably not to the degree. But when you change management
Mm-hmm.
and people see it's lackadaisical,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no ownership of responsibility and no oversight,
Mm-hmm. Now,
you
what would
know.
be the motivation you think for the employees to recruit gang members? Was this a paid position? They figured, well, I can make money and
Well,
recruit at the
well,
same
you know
time.
what? As um, you already know for a convicted felon or anybody with a background, it's hard to get a job. Number one. Number two, it's hard to get a job that pays decent. And cure violence pays decent. They're actually $30,000 jobs. And so, and better. And so when you get people who are convicted felons, some who have less than education, and you give a person $32,000 to $40,000, what do you have? And
So
then and
they might be buying drugs with this money or
you would hope not. And
re-upping
for
or
the masses,
reinvesting.
the
Yeah.
masses of us are parents, so
Right.
we're not. But what
Mm-hmm.
makes it bad is the few bad apples,
Mm-hmm.
like you always hear, will spoil a whole bunch
Mm-hmm.
because it costs a whole program.
Mm-hmm.
That means it costs a lot of people not to work. And for me, you have to make a conscious choice to say, do you tell or do you stay for the check? And when I saw that it got really bad,
What happened? What did you see that got really bad?
when your coworkers are bringing in young girls to their office,
Mm-hmm.
and you have older people who work there who are not in a gang feeling like they're in a gang,
Mm-hmm.
and you have me who's just looking in awe because this is not what I'm used to at a job.
Now, when you
So
say feeling like they're in a gang, is it like they're just joking using gang
no, they're not.
language, or is it like
No, they're
the
not. No, we're not
handshakes and
joking.
signs?
It's when you go to your job and you go
Mhm,
in your office and
mhm.
all the gang members are in your office.
Okay.
They're hanging out in your office. So now you have to weave around them.
Okay.
So that's no longer your office, it's their office, and we
So
just
they're
get the
not
pleasure of
supposed to
working.
be there?
No, of
That's,
course
oh,
not.
okay. 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 Okay.
You know, we had to. You have to work with them, and you have to do resumes with them, and
Mhm,
you're trying to help them. But when we have one employee who is not helping them, he's recruiting them,
mhm.
and the rest of us are trying to help them. When you have people going against the grain, and then you have a supervisor who wants to be a gang member, and she's a female, and you're going, okay, this is a bit much
So
because
there's
now
a
you
lot
have
of time off the clock and stuff, or
it's a
it's
lot
like,
of time that's being wasted,
okay.
that people are not getting the services they could get because we got a supervisor who wants to be a gang member and an employee who wants to be a gang member, and the rest of us just want to do our job.
Mhm,
And so we got two bad apples and a whole bunch of other good employees. But these two bad apples, or three bad apples, or four bad apples are really bad.
mhm,
And so, to where people are coming in our office to fight,
mhm.
literally to fight,
Rival gang
and
members or the gang members you're recruiting?
rival people to
Okay.
fight a coworker. And
Okay.
then you have another supervisor who is trying to break it up and trying to protect the people that work there. That's not a good work environment. It's not a good work environment, and it's not a good place to be. And you wonder, are you gonna make it out alive? And you are at work. And you know, you read the article, and I had my supervisor, my manager actually, as you can read in the article, you know, Mr. Horton, it says that, you know, when an ex coworker was shot
Mhm,
and in February, that's when the house of cards came tumbling down for me. That my ex coworker was shot, and I happened to respond to the call with another
did they
coworker.
live or?
They lived.
Okay.
They are alive and well,
Okay.
and thank you, Lord. And when that happened, then we all realized this is a problem.
Mhm,
The man was terminated and then shot. That's an issue.
mhm,
And so, you know, we worried about our safety. We worried about why, the unknowns. You don't know what happened and why. You know he worked there, and now he doesn't, and he's shot. And now we're responding to him. And so that put us in a tough predicament, as you can imagine,
mhm.
because now we're afraid to go to work. Now we're scared of what, who, where, and why, and we don't know those questions or answers. And so I begin to dig and figure out who to call and who comes to help us, who comes to see about us. Because I
Right.
have a boss who says we were built to go to war. Uh, I am a mother. I'm not built to go to war.
Mhm,
We are not street people. We're trying to protect people in the street. So
mhm,
my boss cannot be saying that we're built to go to war.
mhm.
And when you have a health department oversight team and nobody's oversighting, even after an ex-employee has gotten shot, somebody should have came to talk to employees and asked them what's going on. Are there any issues? Nobody came. And so, you know, I believe that everything was done wrong. And at the point when I went to tell people and people started asking questions, I told the mayor's office. They came to ask questions. And then the new director decided she wanted to have a secret meeting. And at her secret meeting, she explained to us that, you know, family is supposed to stay together and you're not supposed to go outside and tell what goes on. You know, that old black thing that we have going on that keeps us sick, you know, that no tell policy
Yeah, snitching
that
and
we just
stuff.
don't,
Yeah.
that's, yeah, like
Mhm,
in the streets, that snitching policy.
mhm.
And I said, and that's what keeps us as a community, as a people, it keeps us sick because we want to keep all the secrets in the house. Nobody can get well with the secret. And so
Now,
as
why
we're
do you
dealing
think
with,
the mayor said the program was successful? Of course, but he's because he's funding it. But is that really true? I mean, obviously you disagree, right?
obviously I disagree. I believe it can be successful.
Okay.
I believe that it needs some oversight. It needs an overhaul. It needs serious review. Um, serious review. Because it could be different. It could be better. Everything can be made better. Unfortunately, Snug had to lose the whole grant to figure out that it could be better.
Oh, they
And
lost. Okay, wow.
after
Okay.
after he said it was good, he had to retract and take the money.
Now, how much was that?
$1.4 million,
Wow. Okay.
and the program shut down, and so people are out of jobs and looking for work, and but you can't have a program with an infestation and think it's going to work. It will not work. So, at the end of the day, when you decide to tell and you become people's enemy instead of their ally, um, I feel like I get chastised for doing the right thing. When people's lives are in jeopardy and you say you're curing violence, then that means you tell. That means you save the people at all costs, even if it costs everybody not having a job. I'd
Now,
rather everybody not have a job and have to rebuild and restructure than to keep working in an infestation of a problem.
now, did you see when you were working there? Did you see like anyone get off the streets personally, just from you being there? Like, so you can say
Yes,
you can at
yes,
least help one person, and
yes, I can absolutely say that I watched people get helped.
okay,
I'm one of my former coworkers who passed away, Mr. King. I watched the people that he saved come back, and they were in college, and I watched them come back with a tie on and a button-down shirt and tell that man thank you. And
okay,
so those are the things that are, you can't pay for those things. I watch, my other coworker, she would take kids to the dentist, to the doctor, to the gynecologist, to the therapist. We've all, me myself, I've paid for kids' food or paid for services when they tell you there's no money in the budget. In a budget, as you saw, is great. Everybody paid out their pockets for kids to eat, for kids to get what they needed, because they could still be saved. To do different programs with them. If our boss told us there was no money, people paid out of their pockets because you believe in the kids. Then it doesn't become about the program, it becomes about the kids. And if you're genuinely going to save them, you're going to save them whether there's a program or not, because guess what? The people who were helping them are still helping them without a job,
right,
that
right.
are not getting that $30,000 or $40,000, and now wherever they work or whatever they do, they're still giving back. I'm still giving back. We're all still giving back, and for the most of it, we've band together. Even though we are no longer there, we're still together. We still do things together, and we're still making community work
Let me
functionally.
let me ask you this: is it only one gang in the area where you worked?
It's about 31 gangs.
31.
Yes.
Okay. So how?
Offsets of Bloods and Crips, because
Right.
I don't know how it is in Ohio.
No, in
How does that?
Cleveland, we don't really have gangs. We just have neighborhoods like this street, this street, this street. So I mean,
And here in New York,
it's
it's
kind of
combined.
local.
Okay, so in New York, it's combined. It's like
Okay.
they got blocks, they got streets, they got neighborhoods, and then Bloods and Crips.
Okay.
So they had it's different crews, different projects. That whole housing development thing. So you got rival housing development, you got rival blocks,
So
and you
I'm
got rival.
trying to see if the gang that that was recruiting inside of your organization, were they, um, I guess, had less numbers than a rival gang maybe, and were trying to use desperate
No,
measures. Okay.
just always
Okay.
trying to actively get new members.
Okay.
Got to keep up your numbers.
Yeah. Yeah.
just like if you go to uh, uh, any agency,
Hmm.
every agency needs numbers, right?
Hmm.
What do streets need? Numbers. Military. In case we go to war, we need
Yeah.
more numbers.
Yeah.
You know about gangs, right?
Hmm.
In case we go to war, we need numbers. We need
Yeah.
bodies. We got to
Yeah.
recruit too.
Okay.
Unfortunately, just as
Now,
the military recruits, so do they.
now, is there an overseeing body as far as to protect you guys? Did you ever find that out?
The health department is supposed to oversee and protect us,
Okay.
because the grant is given to the New York City Health Department,
Okay.
and they have an oversight committee. They just failed to oversight. I will say that until I'm blue in the face.
Why
The
the
New York
health
City Health
department
Department,
of
because
all?
it's labeled a communicable disease. Cure violence. Violence is labeled
Mm,
a communicable disease,
okay. Okay.
and you know that's why it's cure violence, I guess. And so now they've labeled it, and so the health departments are now, the funding goes through the health departments.
Okay. Now it said you were under protection from the police in the article. Is that
Hmm.
still true? And why did you
No,
decide to?
no,
Okay.
no. But
Okay.
for a while, I did.
Okay. Okay. And were there any threats on your life by particular people, or it was just better safe than sorry?
Threats and better safe than sorry.
Okay.
I have
Okay.
kids, and getting fired was a whole process that
Mm-hmm.
was so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was fired very incorrectly, with people cussing, spitting, throwing chairs, just, the same supervisor that was a gang member. And so you just shake your head, because at some point you feel bad for them, because you have to believe they don't know any better, because if you knew better, you do better.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and at the end of the day, I blame the new director, because had she been paying attention to what was going on, and she was not in the cloud in oblivion, coming from a museum to a community center, she would have been proactive instead of reactive. And had she been proactive, we might have our jobs. If she was proactive, she could have saved a program, but she was reactive, and now she doesn't have a program.
So, what is the update on the court case
Um,
or the
I
status?
have I have went to court once, and so now I'm waiting on a decision from a judge.
Mm-hmm.
And my last court, I went in November the 3rd. So the holidays are here and stuff. So I'm waiting um, on a decision to see if they're going to go forward and go to trial. And I'm hoping they do. I am hoping that
And what are
I
you
get
suing
my
them for? Like wrongful
defamation
termination,
of character, the
defamation? Okay.
whistleblower law, um,
Okay.
emotional distress. I'm actually suing the lawyer of New York City Mission as well for defamation of character,
Mm-hmm.
because he believes that, because I'm a convicted felon, and whatever else he said about me, that I'm not valid. And so I said, more than just to sue him, I have a point to prove. Your
Now, what does he
degree,
mean when he says you're not valid?
because
Because you were involved in the streets before, you don't really have a say so. And if something happens to you like this, is that kind of what he's saying?
exactly.
Okay.
And so his point of view is very negative. And like I tried to explain, everybody who's an ex-offender is not a gang member.
Right.
Sir, I'm not a gang member,
Right.
and never have been, and never will be. And so you can't lump people together. It's wrong. You can't lump all people together. I
Right.
said everybody has a different struggle, and so I just am appalled that he felt as if it was okay to say, because she's a convicted felon, why is anybody believing her? Well, convicted felon or not, the truth is the truth. You read the truth for yourself, right? The newspaper just doesn't print, well, we hope, falsehoods all the time. But for you to lose your program, something had to be true.
That's true.
You
Yeah.
lost $1.4 million contract, and everybody lost their job, and that program does not exist in that building. So something was true. And so
Right.
I'm hoping that a judge says something is valid, that Ms. Vaughn said something had to be valid. Something had to be wrong. And so, one of my reasons for reaching out to you was to petition to the people, to write letters um, to Honorable Judge Wright in New York City at 80 Center Street to hear my case and give me my day at trial with New York City Mission. I
Can
want them to
people email
flood.
him too?
Um, I will find his email because
Mm-hmm.
I want my day in court. Um, I need my day. I deserve my day because wrong is wrong. I had to have witness protection. My children could not go outside, and it's wrong. It's wrong, and I believe that when you have an organization that did not protect its employees,
Mm-hmm.
that's wrong as well.
And the mayor, he's
And
saying the program was successful, and it's when people kind of
mhm,
when he kind of puts out that somewhat false, because you said it was successful in some parts, but if you just paint the picture like it was completely successful and nothing was wrong, when someone like you comes out, you're kind of looked
mm,
at as the bad person.
absolutely, I'm looked at as the bad person because the whistleblower is always the bad person,
Right.
and unfortunately, um, I don't believe that there's enough protection or there's enough anything for the whistleblower. I really don't, because if it was, then we'd be in a much better place right now than what I'm in. There should have been some safeguards,
So
and
it seems like the neglect from the mayor and from
mm-hmm,
politicians, it seems like, as what I feel is usually the case, where people are just throwing money and, it's a good headline, like this organization works and they're doing this and they're doing that. But
mm-hmm,
the struggles and the complexity of actually trying to fight and, make the community safer, it kind of goes under the rug usually. So,
absolutely,
mhm.
absolutely, you're absolutely right, and I truly, in my whole heart, believe that if the politicians cared,
Mhm.
if people cared enough to really make change. And that's the problem, that people don't really care enough to make change. They don't. Because right now I'm being ostracized and it's not right. I feel like I'm the outcast at this point. And
So none of the coworkers are supporting you or standing by
of
you.
course they are.
Okay,
My coworkers are
okay,
definitely supporting me,
okay.
and I love them every day for
Hmm.
what they do. Um, but they're regular people like me. But where are my local elected officials? Where are people in places who really can make change?
Have you talked to the council person?
Well, here's a catch 22 that might make sense. So the president of the company,
City
um,
Mission, New York City
yeah,
Mission.
the
Okay.
president of New York City Mission, her name is Elsie McCabe Thompson. So her husband is a former comptroller of New York City.
Hmm.
So that is an issue
Okay.
with elected officials coming to bat for somebody like me when
Hmm.
you have, politics is in play.
Hmm.
And I know about politics, and politics is in play.
Hmm.
Um, I'm nobody and they're somebody, and according to, politics. And so of course nobody's coming to side with me, even though I believe I'm right. Absolutely 100% believe that I am correct. So, that becomes an issue when the wife the president of the company is an ex comptroller's wife, and he actually did run for mayor.
Okay.
And so, he's very viable in the community. And so, for me, that's another issue.
Hmm. Okay. So basically, what people can do is just contact the local officials and
Yes.
email the judge.
Email the judge.
Okay.
I'm looking for his email address right now.
Okay.
Where is he? Give me 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
If you can't find it, you can just message it to me, and I'll put it
I will.
in the description box.
Okay, I absolutely will do that.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely will do that, and you can put it in there, and I will petition people to please write an email on my behalf.
Okay. So, is there any last words you want to get out to the people? And we're definitely going to do a follow up because I think the ongoing issue is speaking out and the stop snitching. And I've been involved in community work, but before I was doing the news stuff and different things. So I understand where when you're in, it's like you become a part of the streets, but you gotta be detached because
Absolutely.
you only have to. There's only so far you can go before you get involved at some point. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because if you really want to help, you kind of almost have to get involved, but you don't really want to get involved. You know what I mean? So
And
it's
that's
a
the
very
problem. People
yeah.
really genuinely don't want to get involved
Mm-hmm.
because they don't want their name slandered, they don't want their reputation damaged, and everybody wants business as usual.
Yeah.
Absolutely. People just want to live their life, and nobody wants the struggle of making change. And if nobody ever made change, where would we be? If nobody fought for us, where would we be right now? We'd probably still be on a plantation.
Mm-hmm. And
If
on
people
that
never
note,
want
okay, so I appreciate you telling your story and different things like that, and good luck with your case. And
Thank you so much.
yeah, you can send me your information or the judge information. We'll get it out there.
I absolutely will. And thank you for being a news outlet. I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate you. Thank you for making it possible for people to tell their stories.
Okay, no problem. All right, so you have a good night.
You too. Thank you.
All right.